Right again, folks, it's Rick from the Boondocking Bears. Well, after 4 long years of research, I've made my decision about how I intend to RV. Yes, sirree, Bob, and while I know some of you are in shock, the decision is finally made. Now, if you've been following along my channel for the last few years, you'll know that I have examined pretty near every combination of rig that even remotely met my needs. Often realizing that, nope, that one's nice, but this one's better, or that is out of my price range, or that one's too big or too small, or even too silly. Slowly, I made my way through the whole gamut of rigs and traveling options. Now, some might ask, why now? Well, my lawyer contacted me this week, and we finally have some movement in my legal case regarding the recalled hip that was implanted and then explanted from me 7 years ago. So we finally have some light at the end of that tunnel, and it's time to get going. It's time to hit the road. Now, it'll still take me some time to get everything organized and acquired, and of course, I still have to wait for the end of the case, but everything is finally picking up speed now. There's hope. So, what is the decision? Well, RVing, of course, is really nothing more than a style of camping and traveling. And for me, it's about touring Canada and the United States, enjoying the places and the people along the way. It's a means of realizing my bucket list dreams, learning, experiencing, visit faraway friends, and make some new ones along the way. Now, is it for everyone? Well, of course not. Some might prefer to travel overseas on cruises, go to the cottage, and enjoy time in the Caribbean, or travel to specific destinations to see specific things. That's how Disney makes its living. For me, though, RVing and camping gives me the freedom I need and love. But it wasn't always that way. And it's kind of funny, and a process of how I came to realize this after a lifetime of city living, living in suburbia, raising kids, doing what society defines as success. And in those years, vacations were weeks at the cottage, Christmas holidays in Florida, a sprinkling of no kids vacations in Mexico and other tourist spots always thrown in. Through the years, though, I also traveled extensively on business, often doing business in 5 cities in 5 days, week after week, flying every night, staying in a different hotel each night, seeing too many rental car agencies and not enough of the city I was in, only to return home Friday night and reintroduce myself to my wife and kids. And heaven help me if I didn't remember to bring home gummy worms for them. So that was life then and what travel meant to me. So where I am now and what turns my crank and meets my needs is vastly different from the travel that I was used to doing. And reflecting back, I think it all started to change and evolve from a chance meeting with a red cap at Reagan Airport in Washington, D.C. I remembered it was midweek, it was hot as hell that day, it was in the summer, and I asked the red cap to help me to the curb with my luggage, of which there was a lot and it was really heavy. He was a tall, elderly black fella, skinny as a rail, who I wasn't sure could even lift my bags, and how wrong I was on so many counts. As it turned out, my rental car was delayed, and rather than leave me at the curb waiting, this elderly guy, 71 years old, decided to wait with me and started talking. And for a couple of hours, I was spellbound by this guy. It turns out his granddaddy was a Southern slave before the Civil War. And he told me family stories handed down to him through the generations of what it was like in living in those times in North Carolina in the antebellum South. Wow, talk about mesmerizing. Now, it just proves that no matter who someone is, their standing in society, or how much money they might have, their age, or the color of their skin, everybody, and I mean everybody you pass in the street, has a fascinating story to tell. You just have to want to listen and hear it. Anyway, that was the awakening to the realization that maybe traveling was more than fancy vacations in swank resorts. Happiness now is traveling the back roads, visiting the small towns, eating with the regulars in the local diners, making new friends, and listening to them and documenting their stories. It's fascinating. So, that's what I'm going to do. That's where I got there. That's how I got there. And now, what is the decision? That's coming up next.